Hey everybody, it's me, John, and we are currently at the airport. I'm about to be checking in. It is Friday, 4 p.m. ish, and I'll be heading over to BCS Vancouver. Well, I'll be heading over to Vancouver for BCS Vancouver. I will only be there for the V-Premium stuff, so most of the weekend will be just me and Yet hanging out in Vancouver. But the main reason that I ended up booking the trip in the first place is BCS. So I figured that I would take you all with me, and yeah, so we could all enjoy this journey together. Anyway, I'll be checking in, and can't wait to bring you guys on this trip. So after one of the hardest landings I've ever experienced on an airplane, we are in Vancouver, and we're taking the train. So just looking for that. We're finally at the hotel in Vancouver. It took us a little bit longer to get a room as expected, um, partially because we're here a little bit earlier than the reservation because the original flight that we had us coming in right before check-in for tomorrow, but we were moved to an earlier flight. So here we are. Still in downtown Vancouver. Took us a little bit. We got rained on, and my phone died, so there was no footage of us, going through the Vancouver rain. But we got rained on, and but yeah, here we are. We are at Le Soleil Hotel, and it's really nice. I'm just gonna go get something quick to eat, and then I guess we'll start doing the discussions for everything that I am looking forward to slash worrying about at the tournament in 2 days. So yeah, let's go and do that. What is up, everybody? It is Saturday morning. I woke up with a clogged nose because it's pretty cold in here, and wasn't able to do any of the re-sleeving last night, but it's because we were so tired and cold from getting rained on last night after coming back from dinner, so we ended up just going to bed a little bit after. So we're going to go and get something quick to eat. I'll be on call for some practice matches with Vanguard Wonder. Thank you so much for helping me out. And yeah, we'll see how the rest of the day goes. We're going to be going to the actual hotel that we'll be staying at later today as well. And yeah, that'll be interesting to do since we were there last night. But anyway, let's just get on with the rest of the day, I guess. All right, so brunch is done, and like a dummy, I forgot my mini tripod. So this is the Discord setup for the remote fights we have in later. So here we go, and all you guys can see is light bulb. Recording the whole trip, and say hello to the viewers right now. You're on camera. Yeah, so Vanguard, Wonder, and I are going to be slapping each other around a little bit. And I'm getting ready for tomorrow, and he's getting ready for BCS Anaheim. So this will be fun.
Yeah, mine is still like in a month, so
Yeah, have a little more time to get all the kinks out.
take away, bro. After seeing Shiranui top, I have no idea how to prepare anymore.
Mm-hmm. That is very true. I can't imagine how that tournament looked. But anyway, we're gonna get some games in, and hopefully we both come out better with it. And yeah, 12 p.m. checkout time at the first hotel. We're heading over to the Days Inn soon. It's like across the street, but I didn't want to pay the butt ton for that one extra night. So let's go. We have nowhere to go yet. We aren't allowed to check in until 3 o'clock at the hotel. So I'm thinking of hitting up the venue, the tournament venue, just to see how far it is from where we are. Google Maps says it's about a 10-minute walk, so it's gonna go and check that out. That's the hotel we'll be staying at later, and this is where we're going. So it turns out this is the west building. Wrong building, it's over there. East building. Here we are. This looks like it's it. I don't have a mask, so I'm not gonna go inside for today. Anyway, at least I know where the venue is. All right, so found the venue right there, and it's not too hard to find. We just walked into the wrong building the first time, so at least I know where to run to tomorrow for check-in. Anyway, we're just gonna, I don't know, find somewhere to sit down for a couple of hours, check in at the hotel, and get some practice versus Steam Maidens in. All right, everybody. So this is the deck list we are going with tomorrow. So it is Enigma Storm, a little bit different from when I made the deck profile video. So one of the bigger changes is that I run a 0 instead of Daikaiser now. It seemed like a pretty good tech for going first. At least being able to a pseudo break ride for when I can do Brad Black. So that was the reason for the change there, and it just felt sometimes like Daikaiser took up space that I'd rather have something else in place of. So that was another thing that was kind of bugging me with the way there was before. All right, moving into the grade 2s, we still have the Aces and the Kaisers. Kaisers for the extra force, of course, and Platinum Ace for the crit pressure. And I changed the 2 Die Dragons for Gel Sludges here. So 9k base, but can potentially give power debuff and a free draw, and a draw for the Soul Blast. So there's that there. Right, so grade 1s. So I took out the Die Scoopers, and I believe I removed another copy of Grand Rope for some Die Jackers. I also took out I believe, Die Prop for Eternity Chasers, and the other grade 3 turned into a Magical Police Quilt. So first off, Die Jacker gives your Vanguard an extra crit after attacking with it or boosting with it. So found that you can just put it behind Brad Black, swing with it, activate Brad Black first, and then retire Dijacker to give Storm the extra crit. So swinging for 6 damage altogether. So that's Dijacker there. Eternity Chaser, 2 of. I may change it to 3 in the future, but right now 2 is a good number for me. When ridden upon, discard a card, reveal a grade 3, and search your deck for a grade 3 with a different name. So if I'm going first and I don't have a 0, then I can look for a 0. If I'm going second, I don't have a Brad Black, I can look for a Brad Black, so on and so forth. So, pretty good ride target for grade 1. And then Magical Police Quilt. There's a lot of counterblast that gets unused in this deck, and a lot of Vanguard attacks that can give me extra cards in the hand. So that's why she's there, especially in this meta right now where we have Steam Maidens running around and stuff. So it's always good to have more hand. Alright, and as for the triggers, it is 8 draw, 4 crit, and 4 heal guardians. I was contemplating changing these to crit sentinels, but I decided against it because I needed the draw. The deck by itself doesn't inherently get me many cards. I get a lot of drive checks, but I also discard a lot of cards per turn. So the draws are there to kind of offset that, and then to also keep me safe enough for the long Steam Maiden turns with the stupid piano. So that is the deck list. So a couple of things that I'm a little worried about is the number of Steam Maidens that'll be there. I've put this up against a good variety of things, and it's always generally a pretty good handshake in terms of matchup. Does require a little bit more tactical play on my end, usually, against decks with guard restrict especially, but most of the time it doesn't have a hard time weathering the storm and throwing gigantic numbers at the opponent the next turn because of the 8 draws, being able to draw into the deck a lot easier and to just build up hand. But yeah, against Steam Maidens, right now I am going into tomorrow with a relatively negative record against Steam Maidens, so hopefully I can figure something out tonight. I will be playing with Yet a little later to test plays and such. So, yep, that is it. The next update will be at the venue tomorrow. So. All right, everybody, it is time. It's about 8:30. Woke up a little later than I was supposed to, but yeah, it is a rainy Sunday morning. It's like one of my favorite songs, and yeah, I am on my way to the convention center, and I will be getting all registered and everything. So yeah, let's take a walk, shall we? All right, we're back, and this time we're actually playing. Let's go. So round 1 matchups are up. I'm at table 122, so we're gonna head over there. Or 1 something. I forgot. Anyway, let's go.
Well, this marks our first return to in-person regionals at this location in 3 years. Is everyone excited? Woo! You guys all sound kind of tired. Are you sure you're excited? Yeah!
All right. Round 1 is over. Went up against Leopold Reverse. Had a pretty shaky early game. I had nothing to offer for the first two turns, but managed to get through the first Leopold reverse turn, road 0. So I was able to negate the crits there and had enough damage and PGs to get through that turn. Went straight into Brad Black Storm after that, and yeah, that's pretty much just how the deck goes all the time. So yeah, won round 1, waiting for round 2. All right, so round 2 is over. Went up against Steam Maidens. I was really worried going into the matchup because my original matchup was supposed to be against Eradicators, which I don't think I would have done very well against regardless. But we got the round got remade. Ended up going up against Steam Maidens, and I was 80% sure that I was going to take my first loss there, but managed to survive the Colossus turn. Thankfully, I was able to damage stall a little bit early game with a Heal Guardian, but I did have the G assist at grade 2, so I was a little worried about that. But like I said, all's well that ends well. We took the dub round 2, waiting for round 3. All right, so round 3 is over. Went up against the guy that topped, I believe, Standard yesterday. He got top 2, played against Night Rose, went second, had the G assist grade 1, and had an okay game after. Managed to get into my usual combos, but then just wasn't able to get over the lane recalling and resetting. So that's it. We're 2-1, but we're good. We're still got the hopes up, and hopefully I don't have to G assist next round. Round 4 is done, and we took the dub over. What was it again? Oh yes, we took the dub over Eradicators. I went first. Thankfully, didn't have the G assist this game. Rode into 0. Thankfully, I got rushed. Grade 2. I got put to 3 damage because of Rising Phoenixes coming out of the drop zone and things getting bound, but managed to survive the first reverse turn. He didn't have any extra bowings anywhere, so didn't have to deal with the restand, and then went from 0 into Brad Black Storm and had Daizaris and Platinum, and he was at 0. So I basically put him from 2 to 6 in 1 turn. So yeah, hoping we can keep the momentum going. Alright, so end of round 5, up against Steam Maidens again. Pretty standard game. Like, it didn't feel like the matchup usually feels. It felt pretty even. I just wasn't able to get big enough numbers on my Storm turn to close it out, so wasn't able to take the dub, but we're still 2-3. Hoping to end the day with a positive win rate, even if we don't get anywhere. Anyway, keep y'all posted. So end of round 6, ended pretty early. Played up against Tachikaze, Gigano Blazer of all things. So shout out to Josh for playing that. Don't know if you're ever gonna watch this, but yeah. Yeah, so got rushed. Didn't have very good pieces in my hand. I didn't have Brad Black for the first grade 3 turn, and I was going second, so that was a real bummer. But yeah, it was a fun game, and we're now 3-3. So there's no way we're gonna get into top 8, but we're gonna play one last round just to finish the tournament. So we'll hopefully win the last. Hey guys, it is Monday night, the day after the tournament. I was supposed to record some thoughts on the tournament, and I'll give some right now, but I'll be doing the in-depth review of how I think the tournament went back home in Calgary, just because it'll be a little bit easier for me to sort of dwell on it first before I critique any of the rounds properly. So round 7, again, I don't know if I was able to record this at the event, which is why I'm doing this now, but round 7 played up against 7 Cs. I did not have a very good starting hand. Um, and all I remember was my hand being clogged by grade threes. And given the nature of 7Cs, that didn't go very well for me. Um, I also wasn't able to fully maximize my first grade 3 turn. I didn't have zero, so I had to ride into Brad Black, and nothing came of that turn, which really did suck. I was hoping to take the dub, but I didn't. And yeah, so I'm at I ended the tournament at 3-4, but overall I'm still really happy that I went. Still felt really good about the tournament, and again I'll go into more detail um, when I get back to Calgary, and yeah. All right, guys, we're back home finally. I can finally rest. Just gonna do a very not too quick, but I'll be breaking down each round of the tournament. I wasn't able to do very much talking during the tournament because I didn't want to be walking around and look awkward just talking to my phone the whole time in between rounds. So I gave a little brief rundown of what happened, and then that was just it. So here is the more detailed breakdown of what happened at the tournament. So, as you already know, we took Enigma Storm. It's a pretty good deck, but it bricks very hard because it doesn't have any innate synergy between the cards, which was the hardest part during the second half of the tournament for me, and I'll be sort of explaining what happened throughout each of those later games. So first round, Great Nature, Leopold Reverse. There are quite a few of them actually at the tournament, but this one in particular was actually from Edmonton, so I'm just a 3-hour drive away. Big shout out to Nathan. I ended up going first. Fun fact, I actually panic bought a quick shield at the event because I forgot to bring one, and I was heartbroken almost because they were the Bang Dream quick shields. They didn't have any just generic ones, so I wasn't able to get any for cheap, and it costed me a green bill, which did suck, but which sucked even more actually, because for the first game I went first, so I didn't even need to use it at the time. So up against Leopold, but first I rode zero. Thankfully, I was able to get zero for my first grade 3 ride. Brought him down 2-0 crit on his first Leopold reverse turn. So I didn't take very much damage in the early game. It was pretty slow, and then it wasn't until his Leopold turn where he started pulling things out. And thankfully, I had enough in the tank to just mix taking damage and guarding the smaller value ones, and having zero as the Vanguard made it a lot easier in terms of getting over that crit, because the number wasn't gigantic, so to speak, but it did guarantee that he needed to get at least one crit during his drive checks to still do any damage to me, and thankfully he didn't. And then from there it was straight into Brad Black, Enigma Storm, 3 Vanguard attack turn. I just attacked him with gigantic numbers, and that was it. That was enough for me to take that first round. And that first round actually made me feel really good because my field was almost perfect. It was platinum aces, and those weren't small by any margins, especially because zero brought down the Vanguard to 0 power, which is nice. And of course the Dijacker and all that stuff, which really helped. Next round 2, like I said, at the tournament there was a remake. My first opponent was going to be Eradicators, but then for some reason I don't know what happened with the matchmaking, but we had to get rematched with people. And the one thing I was saying was, please don't pair me up with a Steam Maiden this early, and guess what? I got a Steam Maiden in round 2. So I was going first, and I was very nervous because I just couldn't draw into my grade 2s. And even after mulling, I think I mulled 4 that game, there were still no grade 2s. So I went first, didn't get to attack, and I had to G-assist grade 2, which was not fun. I was really nervous, and I had to toss, I believe it was a trigger and a platinum ace out of the game to stay in the game. But thankfully, his first grade 3 turn, he didn't pull out the piano. So I had no problems guarding the first wave of Steam Maiden attacks. I was able to take maybe a couple, and then managed to just not easily, but managed to just to guard the rest. And then I go into my turn, and he survives, but is left with nothing in his hand, or maybe just 1 or 2 cards, and we were getting close to time as well. So at that point, he just conceded, and because my field was aces on the side, storm in the middle, and I also had twin order on the field as well to get bigger numbers, and he only had 2 cards in hand and was already at 4 damage. So even if he was able to guard, let's say the first platinum ace attack, he wouldn't have been able to get over the rest. So he just conceded before we went overtime. So thank you again to my opponents. Thank you to all my opponents actually for all the fun games. But yeah, so I had managed to go 2-0 for the first 2 rounds. It felt really good. I felt so good going into round 3, but then this is where it started to get a little shaky for us. So round 3, I was up against Night Rose. My first time actually playing against Night Rose. I played against more 7Cs than Night Rose. I was going second, and I had the G assist at grade 1, so I was already sort of down a little bit in terms of things that I could use in my hand. And after that, he just rushed me. I was able to get through his first Night Rose turn, but then I just didn't have enough in the tank to finish the game from there. It's because I just was not able to get a proper field out, and this is where I started to feel the issue of the deck not having any mini synergies in between the cards. So that was the first loss of the day, but I didn't feel that bad because he had topped the day before, so I didn't feel that bad losing there, and he was super nice. But anyway, moving into round 4, I meet up again with my supposed original round 2 opponent, and he's playing Eradicators. He was playing Vowing Saber Reverse, and instead of going off script for this one, I'm just going to read what I sent to my Discord. So round 4, I finally did not have to G-assist. So one of the first things that I started doing after each game was not pile shuffling, but separating everything by grade, and then waiting for the next round to shuffle everything in so that it's sort of an even spread throughout everything. So I finally didn't have to G-assist, and I went first. So the $20 that I spent on that Bang Dream Quick Shield was very drastically losing its value. But anyway, I got rushed to 3 damage during his grade 2 turn because he was guarding early with Rising Phoenixes and was attacking me with the grade 1 Eradicator Demolition thingy. So whenever he would hit, he would drop. So he had a lot of opportunities to pull into those, and managed to get those into his drop zone, and then bounce something on his grade 2 turn and brought everything out from there. After getting rushed, I rode into 0 because when I see Eradicators, the first thing I have fear of is the gauntlet attack. So went straight into 0, and he survived that turn. So after that, I thought he was going to ride into Gauntlet, but he ended up riding into Bowing Saber reverse right away. I was a little worried. He had a pretty sizable field, and I did not have very much in the way of defenses. So I was worried that he'd be able to restand one thing, but then when I asked him if he was going to restand something, he reminded me that he didn't have any vowings in the soul or on the field, so he wasn't able to do any of those restands. And then after that, I went into the usual Brad Black into Storm combo, and I called Platinum Ace, Dijacker, and Dizaras. So Dijacker I always would put behind Brad Black as that booster, so that Storm can get that automatic extra damage right away, and then Dizaras on the left, Platinum Ace on the right, and then it's always Brad Black boosted by Dijacker, restand into Storm, give Storm the extra crit off of Dijacker, swing with Storm first with Twin Drive, check the triggers, and then move into the Dizaras attack after restanding Storm, and then Dizaras gives an extra 10 and the drive check, so I managed to get a 5th drive check on a 3rd attack that turn. I've always preferred spreading the drive checks out evenly instead of having one attack with 3, just for more potential pressure, of course, because that could have saved me a couple of times this tournament, and I'll bring that up in a bit. But he actually did have a lot to guard with, so I was kind of nervous that he was going to survive, because at the beginning of my turn he was only at 2 damage. So he PG'd the Brad Black and the first Storm attack, and then hard guarded with against Dizaras, took the second Storm attack for 3 damage. I wasn't able to get any triggers with the last drive check, but he after that did not have enough to guard the Platinum Ace, which was at 40k with an extra crit. So he went to and he took the damage and didn't heal. So that was the end of that game. So at that point we were at 3-1. And this is where the tournament takes a very dark turn for the Storm. Round 5, we go up against another Steam Maiden. It was a pretty, stock standard game. If you've watched like 3 Steam Maiden games, you already kind of know what happens. I was able to survive the first Piano Colossus turn, but he just had too much in his hand to guard with. I wasn't able to get through all of it. He had 2 grade 4 Ulurus as well as 2 PGs in his hand, so I couldn't get over that, sadly. The main problem that I had was that instead of having Platinum Aces out, which probably if I had even just 1 Platinum Ace out on the field, I probably could have closed that game out, but instead of having a Platinum Ace, I only had Kaisers on the field. So I had the numbers, but no crits to finish the game. He ended up taking my last attack at 4, which brought him to 5. And if I had even triggered, if I had triggered at all that turn, I had 4 drive checks. I had no triggers at all. I had 1 draw trigger, but that was it. So next, second last round, round 6, went up against Tachikaze. This one probably hurt my pride the most because I, for one, did not have the best starting hand, and because I didn't have a Brad Black, and I just got pretty plain and simple. I got rushed to death, but I didn't even lose to the main grade 3 of the deck. My opponent rode into Gigano Blazer and beat me that way, which was really sad, but it happens. So because I didn't have Brad Black, I wasn't able to hit the 50k threshold with Storm, and I only had 1 Storm and nothing else on the field. So I was just swinging for 33. I didn't even get the extra drive check. So that round really, I took that one to heart, but my opponent was really nice, so didn't hurt as much as it normally would. Moving in to the final round up against another fellow Albertan. He was playing 7Cs. So I have a pretty good understanding of the matchup that Storm has against 7Cs, or at least like the general play patterns of how to not get absolutely steamrolled against 7Cs. And I went first. I did everything I could, but I just got rushed too early, and my hand was just clogged with grade 3s. I think I had 2 Brad Blacks and 2 Storms in my hand before riding one. So it sucked. The last round really hurt. I did manage to at least get to my grade 3 turn and go from Brad Black into Storm, but it was too late. I wasn't able to put up enough pressure to whittle down his hand. He just had too much to guard with, and he was also hitting, I believe, hit double defensive triggers from one attack, so it made it really difficult to do anything else after that. And then from there he already had 5 treasure markers and 3 voyages out, so I couldn't I couldn't pull it back from there. If I had had a couple of different cards in my hand during that final turn, I may have been able to survive and do something the next turn, but I don't think I would have won anyway. So yeah, that is it for the tournament. Your boy ended at 3-4. I can't lie. I would be lying if I said that I was content. I'm definitely frustrated with my play. There were definitely a couple of things that I should have done differently, and another thing that I definitely would have changed. I definitely would change for the next tournament if we don't get any changes to the meta, if we don't get any new stuff by the time the next big official tournament comes around. The one thing that could have saved my life, and really actually would have saved my life, especially against the round 5 Steam Maidens, were if I had played Crit Sentinels instead of draw PGs, because I was left with 6 cards in my hand that final turn. 2 of them were PGs, and the rest of them were decently sized Guardians, but not enough for me to survive the turn. So it would have still required me to toss 2 cards from hand, but at least with the Crit Sentinels, I would have been able to guard those attacks with 2 cards from hand instead of having to PG and toss 3. So that is probably one of the biggest changes. A couple of things right up till the final day of deck submissions or pre-registration for the tournament, I was going between Die Kaiser and Original Saver 0. I did end up going with 0, and I don't regret it. I definitely could have probably ended a game or 2 with Die Kaiser, but even then most people were playing actually no, that's not true. I had a couple of people play Crit Sentinels against me as well, so it wouldn't have been as helpful in those situations. Definitely 0 has more uses in the deck, especially if you're going first. I only ever rode him if I was going first. I wouldn't waste my time going into 0 and then coin flipping whether or not I'd be able to guard the next grade 3 turn for any of these decks. Leopold was very scary at the event. Thankfully, I had the sheer numbers to get the 1 win that I did against it, but definitely was a very scary deck to play against. I did not feel comfortable at all playing against the deck. In terms of deck choices, I probably, if I could go back, I would have run more Eternity Chasers. I did not like using Grand Rope. Almost every time that I used him, he did not give me anything, and I think that having the extra Eternity Chasers in the back row would have definitely saved my butt a lot, and I probably could have taken maybe a game or 2 more if I had those instead of Grand Ropes. It felt nice to not be the only Dimension Police player, but in between rounds. One thing, if you guys are watching, if any of you are watching this with plans of going to your first regionals, I will always recommend that you go with friends, especially if it's your first time, because you'll have a lot of fun during the rounds, because you get that automatic interaction with your opponent. But as soon as the round ends, I'll give the example of me at the tournament. As soon as each round ended, everybody would go to the group of friends that they were going to the tournament with, and I was one of the only people who just had to awkwardly sit around or walk around while waiting for the next round to go, because I had nobody to talk to. So it's always a good idea, because one, you have people to talk to. Two, you can also split the hotel reservations with them. But yeah, other than that, there is nothing really that I would have. I have no nitpicks with how the event was run. It was really fun. In terms of deck turnout, I wish it could have been a little bit more diverse, because of course at the top, just from walking around after my first round ended, I saw 10, maybe 9 or 10 Steam Maiden players, and there were less than 100 people at the tournament. So the representation kind of sucked. I feel bad. I personally got relatively lucky in the fact that I only had to play against 2 Steam Maidens, but I can't imagine everybody else, especially in the top 8, who had to just keep playing against Steam Maidens. Playing against everybody was really fun. Playing against Steam Maidens, my opponents were great. I have nothing against my opponents. It's just the deck was not fun to play against. And of course, you know that it comes with the territory of being a tier 0 deck and everything. But yeah, I had a wonderful time. Can't wait for the next one. And that is it. That is the end of the vlog adventure. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing snippets of Vancouver as much as I did taking the videos and walking around them. That's one thing that I'll always recommend as well. If you go to these places outside of your comfort zone, or at least outside of your familiarity, always take a day, if you can, just to walk around wherever you're going, because I know I did. The V-Premium day was Sunday, and Yet and I spent all of Monday. We walked around Vancouver for maybe 6-7 hours, just exploring the city, and I definitely had a very full trip because of it. Like I said, I cannot wait for the next one. Hopefully, I don't lose my credit card in the next one. But yeah, that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next video.
Well, you couldn't do your grade 3 turn that well, though. Because, like, I aggravated, so I couldn't really help you there.
Yeah, no.